Hello everybody, and welcome to Bonkers B Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 1957 film Plan 9 from Outer Space. Many of you might have heard of this film. It's quite a famous B movie. I'd never actually seen it and I'd always wanted to check it out. I regret checking it out, but we'll get on to that later. You'll probably know the movie if any of you have watched the Seinfeld TV show. The main character Jerry talks a lot about wanting to see the movie. There's two episodes that revolve around them trying to make a screening of it. So I'd known about it. I'd also known about it because the original start of the Universal Dracula films, Bela Lugosi's in the film, and it's also directed by Ed Woods, who is like quite a famous B movie director, sort of in the same level as Roger Corman, and famous enough that Johnny Depp played him in a film about Ed Woods called Ed Woods, directed by Tim Burton. So I thought it's finally time I check this out. It's only, I think, it's about an hour and 18 minutes, so I thought we'll just watch this, see how it goes, and it was quite bad. So what's the film about? Essentially, we're in late 50s America, we're near Hollywood, we're in a small town, and basically it starts with a woman's funeral. The late husband is at the funeral, and then it just sort of jump cuts. He is dead, and the husband and the wife are now resurrected. They're walking about, they attack a police inspector. Next thing, there's a pilot flying a plane, there's UFOs everywhere, and it seems like UFOs are landing in this small town, but they're now all over America. But wouldn't you know it, that they have a plan. They've been trying to contact Earth, but no luck. So they're going to go to Plan 9, which essentially is resurrecting the dead and trying to bring about the end of the world. I think it's quite vague. So you eventually get a colonel, a lieutenant, and a pilot who go out into the town to try and find the aliens and stop them. So it's kind of a normal 50s sort of B-movie sci-fi plot, aliens attacking Earth. But it's all very vague because they attack Earth. You're not really sure why until 10 minutes before the end of the movie. It seems that they've been getting communications to like the government, and the government haven't done anything about it. So then they start attacking, but they're attacking by resurrecting the dead. But the dead can also attack the aliens. Also, it's the dead are just three people that were recently in this town's cemetery. Like, they didn't think strategically, maybe we'll resurrect soldiers or ex-presidents to scare people. They just resurrect three random people. Also, when you get to the aliens in this, you see their big ship, and you go inside it, and it's a guy wearing like a silver suit, sitting at a table with some curtains, which you can tell that the budget for this is pretty much non-existent. I mean, the UFO shots is like a little silver UFO toy just sort of flying about, non-moving shots of America. But also, I think the problem for me, a lot with this film stems from the narration. So it basically starts with, it's like a Twilight Zone opening. There's a guy sitting there who says the phrase, my friend, my friends, about 60 times, and it's really annoying. And I don't know why sometimes he says my friend and then he goes my friends. I found it baffling. It's really sort of stupid. It tries to frame it in that maybe it did happen, like the X-Files or Twilight Zone, but it comes off as cheesy. The narration sort of runs with the first, I want to say, 20 minutes of the movie. And this, I think, breaks the biggest rule in film, which is show, don't tell. A film is visual. You can show things. Yes, you can have dialogue, but I mean, silent film is the backbone of all of cinema. So you don't it's obvious. You don't need to tell everything. A good filmmaker should be able to give you a film with just images and you'll get the gist of it. Maybe a little bit of text, maybe a little bit of dialogue, but you should be able to follow along. And yet, the start of this film, there's so much narration that's badly done. So the old man goes to his wife's funeral, and then there's just a bit of narration with him locking up his house and saying that's the last time he'll ever see his house. And then it cuts to his funeral, and he's like, all of the people were at the funeral. It was a good turnout. But there's someone watching. I'm like, what happened to like where? When did he die? Why did he die? What's the time? There's no ability in this film to tell how much time has gone from one event to the next. So did he just leave the house, die, and the funeral was 2 hours later? There's literally no way to tell. And if you're going to have narration, you could maybe do it in a way that it makes sense of things, but just narrating, there's a lot of like, it tried to be poetic about the flowers that his wife had put in the garden, and these were the last flowers she'd put down or something, and then it just sort of cuts to his funeral, and I'm like, maybe you could have narrated a bit more of how did we get here if you're going to have to narrate, because I get maybe they don't have the budget to film as much, so they're trying to just speed it up with some dialogue, but it just comes across as pretty lazy, and the as I've said like a lot, I'm pretty sure already, but the dialogue's just terrible. The nation's just terrible. So if you're gonna go to the trouble of doing all this, at least make it seem okay. I mean, and getting back to the plot, spoiler alert, obviously, as we talk through this, but basically the reason aliens are here is because they're worried. They know there's this bomb that can be made from particles of sunlight, and they're worried that because we've got nuclear bomb, hydrogen bomb, that basically humans are going to ruin it for the whole universe, because as the alien says to the characters multiple times at the end, you're idiots. So essentially they don't want humans to be able to figure out how to make this sunlight bomb that could wipe out like the universe. But in telling the human characters about the bomb, he then explains the bomb, how it works, what exactly it is. See, if you're going to a planet to stop them from figuring out how to create a bomb, why would the alien character then just explain it? Obviously, it's because they want the audience to understand the threat of this bomb and how Earth shouldn't have it. But why would he explain it to a room full of the people he doesn't want to figure out how to make it? It makes zero logical sense, and it just really annoyed me. And the alien characters are just very annoying. Like so there's a male and a female alien, who by the way are just normal looking people with some silver on. No way to distinguish them as aliens, apart from they're wearing some silver. They just act really weird. Like, the minute the woman tries to speak, the guy just sort of shouts at her and pushes her back. So there was just no sort of any sense of them being aliens, any sense of them making sense, because I understand, like, it's a cool plot in the 50s to do. Now you've had the nuclear bomb, the hydrogen bomb, but it's also a bit the day the Earth stood still. It's many other sci-fi films, and trying to communicate this thing of humans shouldn't push themselves to the brink, but they do it in a way where it's just really dumb. It's not handled well at all. And talking of things not being handled well, I think one of the biggest problems for me was the film just isn't scary. So you've got these reanimated people walking around raised from the dead, and yet they're not scary, and there'll be scenes where it's closing, there'll be a character looking at a car or looking off because he hears a noise, and then you'll see these characters creeping up behind them really slowly, and then they scream and it cuts away, and you're meant to have been shocked, but it's just so badly done that it's not even like funny or anything in the way that like a badly done B movie can be. It's just boring. And I think one of the weird things about it not being scary is, so the film features Bela Lugosi, who is famous for being the original Universal Dracula. So you think him being in the film, and he is one of the people raised from the dead, would add an element of fear to it, but they don't really use him in a way that's effective. First of all, when he is alive, he's the old man whose wife passed away. He's wearing just like a normal jacket, and then the minute he dies and is brought back, he's got the Dracula cape for no reason, and he keeps doing the sort of Dracula pose where he's got the cape raised up so that you basically just see from here up. But why would this normal guy randomly just be raised from the dead and start walking about with a Dracula cape? And obviously it's because they're trying to market it on the sense of, look, here's Dracula, but it doesn't make any sense. He's not a vampire, why does he get a giant cape? And he just keeps sort of walking about really slowly. You don't get any sense of danger from him. And it just feels like kind of a waste of a good actor. He could have made something really scary out of it, but instead they wanted him basically just to play old Dracula, who isn't Dracula. We don't know why he died, how, but all he basically can do is walk about with a cape over his face. There's also a character in this played by, I think it's credited to Vampira. She is probably one of the cooler looking designs in the movie, of just like a vampire looking woman all in black sort of. But you don't get much of her. You get less of her than you do the other two sort of reanimated people. You get more of a police inspector who has got a really cool design. He's got sort of white eyes. He's quite a big hulking presence. But again, he's not scary because at one point he goes to attack someone and he literally just goes like this. He just karate chops down and the guy falls down. Like, it shouldn't work like that. And there's a sort of fight scene at the end of the movie, but there's nothing to it. And so again, my main thing, as you're probably telling as I speak about this, is that the film's just really boring. There's stretches of this film where there's characters just looking off in the distance. They're chatting about the UFOs. There's an attempt, I think, to give it a structure where you've got a police investigation, you've got the aliens, and you've got a sort of military angle. But you've seen it before and you've seen it done much better, and so it's just really boring to watch. There's no fear element at all. The special effects are terrible. And honestly, the main thing I struggled with wasn't the narration. The narration starts the film for effectively, 10-20 minutes. You're bogged down in it, and actually I really wanted to turn it off because I was just so annoyed. Which is a shame because I know this film's like a cult film and a lot of people enjoy watching it because of like how bad it is. A lot of people have spoke about how, the director just tried to do his best. And I know a lot's been said. Obviously, Bela Lugosi was in the film because he was doing sort of any movies at the time. He'd had quite a hard life. But I think the whole film really is just a waste. The plot's boring, you've got decent actors who don't get much to do. The narration's terribly overdone. The dialogue's cheesy and tries to be poetic but comes off ponderous and boring. And really it feels like every other sci-fi film you've seen. And it's a shame because the other B movies I've been watching for Bonkers B Movies, they're all a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with them. This film I was looking forward to watching. I'd heard so much about it, but it sucks. And I don't want to say that. I want to like movies. But when I logged onto my letterbox after watching this, I put 1 out of 5, which I don't want to do. But it's just, it had so much potential to be good. Good actors, some decent ideas. The idea of aliens like raising people from the dead. I haven't really seen that done before. But it's just boring and it really annoyed me. And if you're 5 minutes into a film and you're so annoyed you want to turn it off, I think the film has already lost you. So sadly I wouldn't recommend this film, but if anyone does watch it or has seen it, let me know what your thoughts are of it. And let me know if there's any more Bonkers B movies you would like me to watch, any recommendations you've got for me. and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!